Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. So I'm reading today for Virgo energy and I'm reading ahead for November. It looks like you're going to have, I want to say a quiet month, Virgo, but I don't think it's going to be a quiet month. It's like you're quiet within a turbulent month is the way it feels. So I think there's probably going to be some stuff around you. It looks like here there could be an option to be angry and to choose fire, but you're not choosing fire. You're choosing to choose water and kind of go inwards and you know, just be quiet and reassess and almost like I think I'm going to call this reading I'll sit this one out. So it's like you're going to sit this one out, or you're saying, do you know what, none of my business, I'm going to just go over here and kind of tend to my own garden. There's there's some stuff coming through intuitively and through the songs that's not necessarily in the cards. So for those of you who are dealing with relationship stuff, the intuitive message is going to be for you, and then the kind of more general message is going to be in the cards kind of a bit later on. So skip ahead if you want to skip the relationship messages. But before you do, I want to say it could even be like something around you, you know, like sort of like sister brother is what I'm getting, or not even best friend, I'm getting kind of like sister brother, and you know, going through a big dramatic breakup or something like this, and you're just kind of, I feel like you're hurt by it though. This is the thing, it's almost like you've had a 10 of swords moment, which is this kind of stabbing in the back, but you just kind of, yeah, you're kind of choosing a very quiet, reflective, like assessment way of dealing with this, which I want to say is very, very good if this is the case. Okay, so intuitive messages. The first thing is this thing, idea of like a scam. So you've got a sleeper song. It's the band Sleeper. They were like really big in kind of like 90s, maybe early 2000s. And they say, I admit that it all started as a scam because every girl wanted you and a year-round tan. I know you're old, but you're kind. You're rich and your heart is dicky. Yes, I knew that you wanted me. So it's kind of like, it's got that feeling of kind of like girls who are just after an older guy because like they want the money. Maybe they're an attractive older guy. So it's kind of like, you know, I'm not necessarily getting into that relationship for love, but then kind of actually quite liking the person because they're kind is the way it's coming through. Maybe very kind, very generous, and it's got that feeling of like it was meant to be a scam, but then I actually felt like I was falling in love with this person. But then it feels like the person is figuring out, it's feeling like the guy is the person being scammed and the girl is the scammer in this situation. So then it's like the guy kind of finds out about this, or you know, maybe sees the woman for who she is, and then, you know, thinks, right, I'm not, you know, I've got to leave this relationship, this isn't working out. But then it's like this guy's met this other woman who is much more high vibrational, much more, because you've got that song She's Madonna, so it's like, sorry love, she's Madonna. It's like I found someone better, if you like. Madonna as well. The word Madonna comes through a lot in my readings, like Madonna, Mother Mary. It's kind of like it's coming through with like almost like perfect woman, or kind of, if you know Carl Jung's philosophy about Sophia being kind of like the yeah, like the ultimate woman. It's kind of coming through a little bit like that in your reading. Yeah, so if we're leaving a scam relationship for an ideal woman, and I've wrote, guess the joke's no longer funny from the next song. So so it could also be a situation where somebody's involved in a relationship, like a committed relationship, and someone else is maybe a bit too late, or there could be this idea of like a fantasy, like I would love to be with this person, but you know, real life means that, you know, maybe I've got like a mortgage, I've got kids, I'm married, you know, it's like if I went for that, yeah, this is how it's coming through, okay? It's like, I can feel it in my heart. It's like if I went for that person who could be the one, you know, it means that I've got to throw everything else away, and it's not just me, right? It's like me and the kids kind of thing. It's got that kind of feel to it. Because some of you, the other songs as well, are like What Can You Lose, which again is another Madonna song. So you've got these two different references to Madonna. What Can You Lose? Let me just pull up the lyrics to that. It's not a very famous Madonna song. It's off her Dick Tracy album. Dick Tracy. Okay, what we're gonna do? What can you lose? What can you lose, Madonna? So this whole song is basically saying, like, confess your feelings and then kind of panicking about it and saying no, leave it alone. So it says, what can you lose? Only the blues. There's something about the color blue, or feeling blue, right? Feeling sad, feeling blue, maybe because you can't be with the person you want to be with, or whoever this is. Could be somebody feels this way about you, like you're the perfect person. Again, let's take gender out of it. You're the perfect person, this person really likes you, but maybe they are in a relationship elsewhere, and it's making them really sad and blue that they can't tell you how they feel. So it says, what can you lose? Only the blues. Why keep concealing everything you're feeling? Say it to her. What can you lose? Maybe it shows she's had clues which she chose to ignore, although maybe those she knows and just wants to go on as before, as a friend and nothing more, so she closes the door. So it's like someone's in a monologue. And then, so that's the guy's part. And then Madonna's part, so the female part is, well, what if she does? Those are the Jews. Once the words are spoken, something may be broken. Still you love her. What can you lose? But what if she goes? At least now you'll have part of her. What if she had to choose? Leave it alone. Hold it all in. Better a bone. Don't even begin. With so much to win, there's too much to lose. So it's kind of like, it feels like it's not an easy decision, right? It's a really loaded decision, because it's got that feeling of, God, this could be everything. This could be the one. This person, like, maybe absolutely adoring them, and then being like, but if I say the words, I can't take them back, right? I could, maybe a really good friendship, and you're like, I'd destroy this friendship if I say it and they don't feel the same way, it could ruin what we do have. Or like, if I say it and they like me back, then what does that mean for my current situation, their current situation? Everything's going to change. There could even be other factors involved as well, like social pressure, or if this is somebody at your workplace, there could be repercussions for that. So it feels like I say, so much to win, but there's so much to lose. So you've also got pretty much immediately after that, we got Something Stupid, the Frank Sinatra and Nancy Sinatra version, which is about a parent-daughter relationship, parent-child relationship. But again, it could be a very romantic song. And of course, they're talking about maybe two really attractive people as well, because the first line is, I know I stand in line until you think you have the time to spend an evening with me, and if we go someplace to dance, I know that there's a chance you won't be leaving with me. So it's this idea of kind of like, maybe the other person having so many suitors, or you have a lot of suitors such an old-fashioned word, and knowing that somebody has options, and always being like, I don't want to just be an option, but I really like this person. If I tell them I love them, I go and spoil it all. So really, that message was coming through really, really strongly. Again, there could be something about addictions, especially addictions to do with kind of partying, or going for a certain lifestyle, because you had Crave by Madonna, third Madonna reference, which says, my cravings get dangerous. So kind of, maybe you've got cravings, maybe you're trying to wean yourself off something and you're craving it. Doesn't have to be too serious. Like, we've had some heavy addictions coming through in the previous readings this week, but it could even be like sweets, right? Chocolate or sugar. You want to eat less sugar because it's bad for you. But it's almost like, I don't know, it could even be the relationship as well, because it's that idea of like, when you resist something, it plays on your mind and it makes you want it more, right? Where if you just have a little bit of what you want, sometimes that's enough to satisfy the cravings. But if you try not to think of something, it's kind of like it plays on your mind more, something like that. But yeah, I don't know. Again, something about the colour blue. You had Colours by Halsey. She mentions the colour blue. And that was giving kind of like, maybe kind of like a trip, you know, maybe being a little bit out of it. Maybe, I don't know, like under the influence of something. Yeah, and then you've got the song's Holly by Republica, so maybe somebody's called Holly, but it's a song about Hollywood, and she says tripping like fantastic and things like this, but it's talking about all the problems that people face when they in that environment, right? So yeah, not a good song. And you've also got West Coast by Lana Del Rey, which is that you've got the music in you. Down on the West Coast, there's a saying, if you're not drinking, you're not playing, but you've got the music in you. So it's like, again, it's talking about the environment, especially it could definitely be something to do with like the West Coast, perhaps of America, because it does say Hollywood, right? Never eat shredded wheat. Yeah, West Coast. And or it could be the West Coast of anywhere. But yeah, this idea of kind of like work hard, play hard, or, you know, to get anywhere, you have to network. And in order to network, you have to be involved in a certain lifestyle that maybe is not very healthy and it can be quite toxic. So all these kind of things coming up. But yeah, West Coast. I don't know. The song that came through for you specifically when I sat down today and asked for a specific song was I Will Survive by Cake. So it does feel like you're trying to survive something. It does feel like, because in the middle of your reading, slap bang in the middle, you've got this apocalypse card. It's your Mungadar. I can't pronounce it. But it's the Midgard serpent, and it's in reference to a legend. Is it like Viking legends where there's a big snake that circles the earth and it keeps its own tail in its mouth, and the legend says when the snake ever if the snake ever let go of its tail, then the apocalypse would happen, right? It'd be like the end of days. So you feel like it doesn't have to be anything as dramatic as an apocalypse, and I know that there's a lot of that in the collective energy at the moment because people are scared of what they're seeing on the news. But I don't think it's necessarily that. I mean, it could be that you're just kind of keeping your head down, trying not to pay attention to it because it stresses you out, makes you angry perhaps. So you're going to distract yourself with really practical things perhaps. But yeah, it just feels like a big tower moment, right? Maybe, and again, it could be situational. It could be something going on around you, not necessarily that you're involved with, but you know, it could easily affect you. So again, you've got this kind of avoidance energy. But I Will Survive by Cake. It says, first I was afraid, I was petrified, kept thinking I could never live without you by my side. But then I spent so many nights thinking how you did me wrong, and I grew strong. So this is a really interesting song for me because it's the first song that I heard when I kind of started to get all psychic-y. It kind of woke me up in the middle of the night. I was fast asleep and it's like a radio turned on in my head, and it was like somebody blasting I Will Survive on karaoke. And so it's kind of like a really meaningful song to me. I was kind of like, what is this, right? But yeah, I think if I put it all together, it's giving me this, I don't know why I want to say flavor. It's giving me this flavor of, again, somebody who's been in a bad relationship perhaps, and I want to say that there perhaps could have been some codependency there, romantic codependency. Is it called limerence, where it's kind of like you're craving this person, you're craving being around this person, you're craving interactions with this person, and maybe they're, you know, feeding into that with like some gaslighting, you know, treat them mean to keep them keen kind of thing. You know, you deserve better than that, Virgo, you really, really do. Yeah, it's almost like wanting what you can't have, perhaps. I think there's an element of that in this reading. Okay, that's your notes. I think this is going to be quite a quick reading, to be honest. It's quite straightforward. You did have... Oh, actually, I'm not done with my notes. I tell a lie. Yeah, so you've got garden, signal, forest and wolf, and this was giving me again that feeling of like a scam. Oh, just by the way, if you can hear the typing in the background, it's my eldest. They're playing computer games and talking with the friends online, so there's a lot of tappity. Sorry, I'm sorry about that if it's bothering you. But yeah, I've got garden, signal, forest and wolf. So it's almost like the garden into the forest, right? And the signal, and then it's giving me this feeling of, you know, somebody being called out into something that feels quite safe, you know, like somebody, you know, going into a garden, it's, you know, it's tame, it's, it's pleasant, it's human friendly, but that garden actually turning out to be a forest, which is a little bit more threatening, a little bit more confusing. There's more chance of kind of getting lost in that situation or harmed in that situation, especially because there's a wolf there, right? It's like you wouldn't want to meet a wolf kind of alone in a forest. You know, that might be a bit of a scary situation. I don't know, my eldest is back there, they're probably gonna... What would you do if you met a wolf, if you were having a walk in a forest and you met a wolf?
Oh, well, it would be on its belly in like 2 seconds. I'd be petting it.
Yeah, they're like, I always say this is my oldest, like they're like Dr. Dolittle. It's like they've got a natural affinity for animals.
I petted a wolf.
Yeah, you did. You petted a...
She'd die a wolf too.
Yeah. We were out in town the other day, and there was a guy with it was like a helper dog, a service dog, but it was part wolf. It was part dire wolf. So yeah, just immediately, as soon as my kid got near it, was like the softest thing. It was on its back, like rolling on her, letting her stroke its belly, just the biggest, softest thing. But I think, you know, in terms of this reading, I want to say, you know, a wolf is like a wolf in sheep's clothing. So, you know, it's this feeling of like, I thought I was getting one thing and it turned out to be another. Yeah, garden and signal. It's like a signal to come out into the garden. So I don't know. It almost gives me like surreptitious meeting, a little bit like Heathcliff and Catherine, right? It's like they have that little meeting place in the garden. And there's like 3 versions of each character, so I don't quite know which one. I may have got the names a little bit off there. But yeah, that Wuthering Heights thing. So, right. From my deck today, you've got the Priest, the Dagger, and the Deep Sea Astronaut. I want to say the Priest is referencing you and that kind of hermit mode energy. So if you know, in tarot, in the major arcana, the hermit card is considered to be a Virgo card. And it does talk, it's quite a spiritual card. It doesn't have to have any specific religion attached to it, but it talks about doing this, spending time alone so that you can do this deep inner reflection and kind of ask for guidance, and kind of figure things out internally rather than looking externally for answers. So the Priest and especially the Deep Sea Astronaut are definitely kind of giving that hermit mode energy for me today. My Deep Sea Astronaut card talks about again, like doing that really deep emotional dive. It's like really going to the hardest places to get to emotionally inside yourself, and analyzing them and exploring them, and you know, like seeing what you find. It's an energy of like discovery, like self-discovery and evaluation. The dagger with it though, because the Priest was the underlying and the dagger and the Deep Sea Astronaut actually came out together. The dagger to me talks about things that are concealed, and very similar to swords in tarot. Swords can symbolize truth, honor, justice, all these kinds of things, action, but the dagger is more concealed. It's more strategic, it's more hidden. So it feels a little bit like, hang on a sec. Yeah, so the dagger is kind of like, it can be a bit surreptitious, it can be a bit sneaky, it can be a bit negative, because it's not, it's, you know, it's not overt. It's kind of like, you know, the pew pew laws in America. In certain states, they say you can have a massive pew pew, but, you know, you have to have it visible, you know, you have to have it registered. You can walk around with it, but you can't, like, if someone's got a concealed pew pew, then it shows that they're kind of up to something. So I don't know exactly how that applies, but whether you're searching for something inside of yourself that you've hidden from yourself that could be a little bit destructive or a little bit I don't know, something a bit sneaky about it, but it's within you, right? So your reading actually starts with the Crow. I have to say the cards though, there was a few, I've got piles of cards, and normally I get a few cards from each pile. Now yours was not weighted evenly, which could be something in itself, right? The phrase something being weighted evenly. Certain decks no cards came out of. These 2 decks, only 1 card came out of each of them. And then most of these are either by Stacey DeMarco or Colette Baron Reed if you're looking for these decks online. And then I've got this mega deck of like, it's this massive stack, look here, of like 4 different Stacey DeMarco decks, like all mixed in together. And the majority of your cards, so everything that's on the table now, bar these 2, are all Stacey DeMarco. So maybe somebody's called Stacey, maybe somebody's got the last name Marco or something like that. Yeah, just huge amount. So make of that what you will. The Crow card is a card about being forewarned. Crows to me, I mean, if it means something specific to you, take it. But to me, if I hear a crow squawking, it can be a warning, right? Or an alert. It's kind of like heads up kind of thing. So you're getting this, maybe news, maybe this could come in the form of a letter or a message from a friend that says, hey, heads up. It could be your own intuition. Hold on. Sorry guys, my kids are off school today, so they're bumbling around with the cat in the background. So yeah, it could just be internal as well, like your intuition. You've had like a premonition or something like this that just tells you, I don't know what it's telling you. I would say be alert, or maybe even avoid this situation, because that's what you seem to be doing next. So you do go into, it's so funny that your reading starts with these 2 cards, right? The first row is the Crow and self-reflection and protection with the Cave. So it is talking about going inwards, right? Going into your safe space. The Cave can represent a safe space for you where you kind of do that hero's journey, right? You do the it's like a hero's journey, but it's inward, of this deep exploration, deep self-reflection, really figuring things out for yourself, and having a safe space to do that. And that safe space might just be internal, right? Like, I don't know what's going on externally for you, but internally, that's your place, right? It's like, I'm hearing like no one's welcome and no visitors. It's kind of like internally it's kind of like nobody has control over my mind, or nobody has control over my feelings other than myself. This is my domain. My internal world is my domain. My dreams are my domain, that kind of thing. So it does feel like the Virgo reading starts with hermit mode energy, which is really funny to me. But there's something as well about calling everything in. I feel like Gemini had this thing about almost being because Gemini have this thing about like being multifaceted or being a chameleon. I was shown a kaleidoscope as well after I'd finished that reading. And the idea of kind of having a lot of different personas, you know, being a different person in different places. You know, the way that you speak to your parents or your grandparents might not be the same way that you speak to your co-workers or your friends when you're on a night out clubbing. So it's perfectly normal and natural, I think, to have a little bit of chameleon energy where, you know, you choose your words for the situation, you adapt your behavior to the situation. It's just part of the human being instinct to fit in to a group, right? Which, again, going back to kind of caveman times, meant that you were safe. You know, if you were part of the group, if you were kind of adopting the culture, you know, the customs and the language of the group, you would be safe within that group. So it's a natural thing that people do. Some people are better at it than others. Some people suck at it. You know, some people are just the same in every situation and face the consequences of that. You know, you can flip it and reverse it how you want to, if you want to talk about good points and bad points. But I think to an extent it is something we all do. And so this feels a bit like calling yourself back, you know, calling your fractured self, your personas back in, right? And kind of just thinking of like a metaphor for that. It's kind of like, imagine your persona or your soul was a lump of clay. And you had to give to different situations, but every time you gave to a different situation, you'd have to pull off a little piece of your clay and mold it and form it into the shape in order to suit that situation. So it's like, imagine that lump of clay is kind of you're pulling it off and making a little version of you out of it, and it's kind of like fun you because you're going clubbing, or, you know, serious you because you're at work, or, you know, emotional you because you're around family and that's your support system. So all these little broken off pieces of yourself. And it could even be like social media, right? Sometimes excuse me, Again, sorry for the interruption. So it's like imagine breaking off all these little pieces of clay, which are all like different little versions of yourself that you're giving to different situations. This feels like, you know, by doing that, that's depleting you. So you kind of need to call all those little versions of yourself back in and kind of remold them. So I was going to mention social media. So I'm on a few different social media platforms, and I do think there's different expectations on different platforms of, you know, how people behave on those platforms. For example, TikTok's really silly, Instagram's a little bit posy, you know, Twitter's a little bit, well, it used to be when it started, it used to be a little bit kind of intellectual. So it's kind of like you may put different posts up on different sites depending on kind of what that site encourages. So again, it's that kind of thing of like, am I becoming a little bit too am I spreading myself a bit too thin here? Do I need to reevaluate where I'm spending my time and how I'm showing up in those spaces? So different ways that that could be, but like, can you see how I'm seeing like it's almost like a calling in, like a reattraction of all these insects. And then what's interesting is you then have, after this inwards, this kind of sucking your energy back in, you then have this outward expansion, which goes to release. So you can see all these like butterflies are kind of like shooting out of a chest. So perhaps releasing feelings, hold on. Let's just say, I don't know why like kids are like this, but they can ignore you. They can want nothing to do with you for hours. And then as soon as you think, right, I'll go and do something myself, then it's like, that's when it's like, mom, 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 mom. Why now? Okay, so I am sorry for all the interruptions, Virgo. I think you'll get it. I think Virgo is an energy, a sign that is used to being interrupted and having a lot of people being like, Virgo, Virgo, Virgo. It's like, I want time for myself. So maybe that's what it is. You just need time for yourself, right? But again, this is like releasing that. It's kind of, you feel a little bit like I said, that lump of clay, right? Bringing all the pieces of yourself back in and remolding because it's butterflies on this card. It's kind of not exactly butterflies on this card. I think there's some butterflies, but there's also like these mothy things as well. Fireflies perhaps. So it's kind of like I need to, maybe that is what it is, right? Because it's different insects here. So it's kind of like the different personas or the different versions of yourself kind of becoming a little bit fractured. That, I don't know, maybe some of you have Gemini placements, maybe like a Gemini moon or maybe Gemini Mercury, because it feels very social. And Mercury kind of rules kind of like communication, social interactions, that kind of thing. So it feels a bit like bringing everything in, and then, you know, maybe those lumps of clay were all different shapes and sizes, but you're kind of creating one big uniform message, perhaps, of what you want to say to the world or how you want to show up, and then being consistent with that. So every time you break off a lump of clay, it's just like a smaller version of the source material. So it feels a little bit like I once had this, I feel like it was, maybe it was Aquarius, because I remember it came in with like my Starman guide, but it was this whole thing about how holograms work. And basically, you know, like holograms, like they're a piece of like glass and they've got an image on them. For some reason, like if you shattered that glass, every single tiny fragment of that glass would have the whole hologram inside it. It's kind of like just a smaller version of the big version of the glass. And that's kind of what I'm seeing with that. This goes on to, after this release, you have blossoming. So I want to say whatever happens here, it is working for you. But there is this idea of kind of projecting forward. Oh, there's this big skirt as well. I don't know if there's something about wearing a big skirt. Maybe somebody's going to like dress up for... I was thinking about being one of the vampires from What We Do on the Shadows for Halloween. Either Nadia or the blonde one, like her little friend. Because I think my kid wants to be Nadia. I was like, I was going to be Nadia. And I was like, where do I get one of those big skirts from? So that it could be relevant in some sort of way. Like with this, like the draping. Maybe it's like curtains as well. It could be something about curtains. But yeah, it's looking to me like this is setting an intention, maybe releasing your intention. You know, this is my intention going forward. This is where I want to be over a certain amount of time. Because it's like, yes, it's blossoming, but there's this like forward projection, and the forward projection goes through this kind of cold period. Now I want to really talk about seasons and cycles here, because this is like a lot of flowers, this is kind of looking like spring, you know? So it's kind of like projecting, like understanding that things are that things work on a cycle. I was talking about this in another reading about kind of like stock prices and house prices and gold prices and how the markets will go up and down. You know, everything is like waves. It's not a straight line. But so you seem to be setting an intention for after winter, or setting an intention for after the cold period, is the way I'm seeing that, because it's with Will as well, right? So Will is talking about like intention, but also this kind of like opening up of the next phase, or the because it's release. I want to say there's something about reveal as well. It's kind of almost like inviting people in, like inviting people into your cave, right? Inviting people into explore what you've discovered. So this is the internal kind of self-discovery, maybe even spending a lot of time at home, you know, like I'm just going to be at home. I don't want to go out anywhere. I don't want, you know, to invite people around. I'm just going to spend some time in my own space, and then this is kind of like opening the doors and saying, everybody come and look at what I've discovered or what I've been doing. Hi. So because this is followed by gathering around, the power of community. So it feels like, again, it's this idea of like inviting everybody, calling everybody. Maybe this is even expelling people, you know, kicking everybody out, and then like inviting people back in again, like come and see what I've found. Because it's with these butterflies again, I want to say there's something about kind of like bring a friend, you know, like the butterflies feel like something from you, right? The message is going out from you. And then this is kind of like, bring these back to me, you know, go out and find someone and bring them back to me, something like that. So yeah, like I say, you feel like you're almost like weathering a storm, because then you get this cycles card with the Midgard serpent, which again talks about kind of the tower moment, or the apocalypse, or the rough patch. Maybe it's the rough patch, but you're looking beyond the rough patch. So it has this feeling of like hibernation, or kind of like riding the storm kind of thing, because you do have endurance further on in the reading. And with the snow moon as well, like look how snowy these two cards are together. They just look like there's all this ice here. Typing a bit loud again, sorry. I need to get like a silent keyboard, I think. And then like the purity as well. Can you see how she's got her head covered? And then here, the next card after this is this Kraken card, Mystery. So it's almost like you're nowhere to be found, right? It's kind of like this is the boat searching for you. This person's out searching for you, but you're kind of off the radar. Again, you feel like you're hibernating, or maybe you're taking like a social media break, or you know, you're just turning your phone off because you know that you need some quiet time. So yeah, you're feeling like you're the mystery, right? But with purity, I want to say there's something really, really good about it. Like I say, it's kind of like she's turning her head away. She's not, yeah, it has this weathering the storm feel. You know, like I don't want to go out there and be part of the storm. I just want to survive it, is the way it's coming through. And then choosing how you do this as well, because maybe if you got involved, you get quite angry. This is bushfire in reverse. I always think she's kind of saying, look what you've done. Look what you've done to my environment. Look what you've done to my friends. You know, it's an angry card. It's like she's holding up the evidence. But with it being in reverse, and then the next card being this Hunter's Moon, it's almost like fire is destructive is the message that I'm seeing here. Fire is destructive, and you know, it's kind of like, this is kind of like a burn it all to the ground energy, and that's not something that you want to choose, I want to say, at least at this point in the reading, you know, because I think we feel it, right? We feel the fury, which I've been talking about in some of the other readings. I think Cancer had all these like bird women, like harpies, and then Leo's reading had this thing about what makes you lose it, right? What makes you so angry that you lose control and almost like become a werewolf, or like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, or the Incredible Hulk, right? It's like what triggers you into going into Hulk mode, and it's like don't do that, right? Don't do that, because there's another way, there's another path. which is much, much healthier, because look, all these animals are safe. They're in the forest. And look how warm and inviting and cozy this looks like. She's got this fox in her arms, the squirrels over here having a look. There's all these animals kind of like looking up to her and drawing closer. So it's kind of like if you want to protect the environment, right, that you're in, and it could be the environment globally, right? You could be an environmentalist or feeling like very active in that area in November. Or it could just be your home, right? Your spaces, your personal environment, the places that you spend time in, right? Maybe that you have to spend time in. This could even be like a workplace, right? It's like you don't want to burn this situation to the ground. You want to create safe spaces for everybody. So again, you seem to have a safe space internally, right? You've created that for yourself, perhaps in a very, very turbulent environment. It's kind of this feeling of like being in a crowd and being able to go inwards and separate yourself from the chaos, not getting sucked into the chaos like Cancer was doing, because Cancer almost felt like if there was a bit of a storm, they were getting very, very whipped up by it, and kind of before they knew it, they were at the center of this storm. This feels a little bit more like the storm's there, but you're able to kind of like plant your feet, do your deep breathing techniques, close your eyes, do your visualizations, and almost kind of like mentally leave the room, right? Almost like disassociating from what's going on around you in a positive way. Yeah, taking a step out of it, being unaffected by the storm. So yeah, so it has that feeling of like, if this is what you can create internally, how can you extend that outwards and create almost like a bubble, right? A safe space bubble around you. So for example, this could even be, perhaps you work in a very, very busy office. They're showing me like Wall Street, where everybody's like shouting. The stock market opens and everybody's like, ah. So it's like you could work in a very, very busy environment that's very stressful. And I think somebody had this thing about being triggered into a panic attack. I think maybe it was Gemini. So it's like, well, what if we have one office that is like the quiet space? It's like no talking. We can put books in there. We can play some like, calming music or ocean sounds in there. We can have headphones in there. It's kind of like, we'll create that space where if somebody's not doing very well, they can kind of go in, like even like teddy bears or something, anything. Blankets are really good. You just wrap yourself in a blanket, put it over your head, and you're like, okay. Just I can have that moment, have like a cup of tea in there. So yeah, it might be something like that. How do I create the panic room, right? How do I create the quiet room, where what I can do internally is now something that other people can find solace in. Solace in. And like I say, this is followed by Endurance and the Rock. So it does feel very singular, right? It's like you're standing strong despite the storm going on around you. Again, it feels like there's been something that's very destructive to the environment here. But somehow you've maintained your stature, you've maintained your peace, you've maintained your abundance, right? Because you've got this like blossoming card. So it's kind of like your vitality, perhaps, with it being very, very green. So yeah, you feel at this point, so maybe by late November, you will have weathered the storm, right? You will have endured this situation that has been perhaps quite difficult, and maybe you're acting like a rock for others as well. And this is with disconnection. So again, there's a big theme in this reading right from the start of being able to disconnect from the drama, perhaps, because again, if our friends or our family are going through something, especially if we've got very, very drama inclined family. So all families are created differently, right? And I'm not saying this is a good or a bad thing, but some people are a bit more, they thrive in the drama, right? They thrive in the chaos. So it's kind of like, they seek out the chaotic moments. They seek out the adventure, they seek out the drama, they seek out the more vibrant situations, because they thrive in it. You feel like you don't thrive in those situations, so you're choosing something that's maybe more earthy, right? If this is fire, you're choosing something that feels a bit more like earth and water, right? It feels more stable, it feels more grounded, it feels more consistent. So this needs to be an active choice and a huge amount of self-awareness, because I think especially maybe if this is like family or like a friendship group, you know, there's drama kicking off. Oh, did you hear, you know, this person split up with this person? You know, come and you know, even like some families are kind of like, go and have a word with that person, you know, you go and have a word with them, you know, and like sort them out kind of thing. It feels a bit like, you know, you're saying no, right? It's not the right time for me to do that, or I'm not getting involved with this, you know, with all due respect, I'm not getting involved with this, you know. Don't call, even like, don't call me with your drama, I'm not interested. It can even be like, you know, something like that. Where I do think that Virgos tend to be a really good shoulder to cry on, again, because you are quite a solid person. You know, if people are needing a shoulder to cry on, or needing somebody to confide in, or needing somebody to kind of like support them, it's kind of like Virgo's the natural choice, because you're a very empathetic sign. Usually, it depends on your full chart, but Virgo energy by itself is very empathetic and very understanding, very compassionate, very helpful, very eager to help as well. Like, you do tend to be a like, I always find Virgos tend to pick up a lot of waifs and strays. Maybe that's this, right? You're picking up all the waifs and strays, who then start to depend on Virgo. So again, this feels like tending to your own garden first, you know, like those kind of metaphors where it's like, I'm putting my own gas mask on first, you know, like on an airplane they always say, put your own mask on first before you try and help anyone else, because if you try and help someone else and you pass out, then, you know, it's not great. But if you've got your mask on and you can breathe, you're going to be more effective. So it's kind of like that. It's like, you know, you have to be able to stand strong first before you can have other people start to lean on you. And then it's really lovely because, like I say, you've got endurance there, and then resistance as well. And look at all the kind of plants and insects and things growing here. So yeah, it's also followed by this card here as well. And look how green that environment is. Like, if this felt really dry and like there was no nutrients, there was nothing kind of sustaining you, in this environment here, when you disconnect, it's much more green, right? It's almost like you're going into your own little cave, your own inner solstice again. And like I say, this is followed by resistance. So this beautiful like, this is very autumnal, right? You've got kind of snow and winter and autumn here, and then this is looking like when things bloom again, right? When things grow again, because again, you've got this intention to have the blossoming, and then here it is. So again, it doesn't have to be in tune with nature cycles. It doesn't have to be seasonal. It could all happen in the space of November, right? That, you know, in November you're going to go into like hibernation mode or a quiet period, or you're going to have to disconnect for a while. But through this disconnection, I think you're avoiding the things that are going to make you furious, and you're focusing on your own safe spaces, internal growth, and maybe even extending that outwards, right? Is maybe even slowly starting to invite others back in. But I think maybe being quite selective and careful not to allow for the more dramatic people, I want to say. And it's not that you're kind of turning your back on anyone, it's that you're putting yourself first, which, you know what, it's about time, Virgo, I want to say. So that's it, that's your reading. It's a short one, 43 minutes. I think that's one of the shortest readings I've done for quite a while. But you could even be like kicking someone out, I don't know. No, it's one song that was talking about like everything being thrown out. Just like, don't overreact as well. You don't want to be the drama queen throwing everything out. I don't know. Virgos, the highest message that's going to do the most good for whoever needs to hear it. Okay, we've got an advertisement. Somebody could be called Stephen. Hang on, let me just close Spotify and open it back up. You've got Praying by Kesha. Well, you almost had me fooled. Again, I feel like that's going back to that scam energy. It's like somebody almost had you fooled, but you got it, right? You figured it out. So it says, told me I was nothing without you, but after everything you've done, I can thank you for how strong I've become. Again, it's making me think of that Cake song where it's like, I will survive. Yeah. told me I was nothing without you, but after everything you've done, I can thank you for how strong I've become. Because you brought the flames. Yeah, this isn't you. I told you it's not you. It's somebody else, right? It's somebody dramatic around you. Because you brought the flames and you put me through hell. I had to learn how to fight for myself. And we both knew all the truth I could tell. I'll just say this is, I wish you farewell. I hope you're somewhere praying. I hope your soul is changing. I hope you find peace falling on your knees praying. I am proud of who I am. No more monsters, I can breathe again. And you said I was done. Well, you were wrong, and now the best is yet to come. 'Cause I can make it on my own, and I don't need you. I found a strength I've never known. I've been thrown out. I said somebody who's thrown someone out, right? I've been burned. When I'm finished, they won't even know your name. Yeah, and then it repeats. And then it says, oh, sometimes I pray for you at night. Someday maybe you'll see the light. Oh, some say in life you're going to get what you give, but some things only God can forgive. Yeah, and then it repeats. I hope you're on your knees praying. Virgo. Oh, you feel like whatever you're doing it the right way, right? You're looking after number one. You're doing the whole, it's like Queen of Pentacles energy keeps on coming up, or Nine of Pentacles energy keeps on coming up this week. It's like you're doing the self-care, you're paying attention to what you need, and you're getting yourself really good and strong and stabilizing after something that feels very tempestuous. Again, I feel like some of you have been kind of almost played, or someone's been trying to scam you, or and I think you've seen it now. I think maybe it took you a long time to really see it for what it was, but you seem to be moving in the right direction. There may be an element of one step forward, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, because I think I saw like 1, 3, 2, 4 on the timestamp on one of my my songs, which tells me that kind of like forwards and backwards energy, but you are moving in the right direction, right? And sometimes it's just strategic to kind of take a step back. You don't always have to be pushing forward. Like Taurus is an energy that always pushes forward. It's kind of like full steam ahead, nothing's stopping me. But sometimes it is really important to kind of like take breaks, or to recognize when you've been giving too much to a situation, and maybe you need to take a step back and reassess. It's no good kind of being full steam ahead towards the edge of a cliff. Sometimes you've got to stop and check the map, and this feels like a bit of a stopping and checking the map moment. So again, those of you who've been through a difficult relationship or a really stormy situation, you've got this, right? You are making progress. You've got 33, 34 here as well. A lot of 13s as well. You've got 13. So it's something about the numbers. You've got 13, 13, 17, 17. Then you've got 33, 34. Yeah, so again, 30, 20, I don't know, maybe seeing number patterns, or you're looking at paying attention to numbers that you're seeing around you and taking that as signs a lot at the moment. It could be something like that. Yeah, you're fine. You've got this, Virgo. Absolutely. I'm not even worried about you. I'm not even worried about you, because you just, as long as you avoid anything that's going to get you riled up, and you just completely say no to that. It's like you're shutting the door to that kind of angry energy. You're going to come out the other side of this. You're going to endure, and you're going to be really, really strong. And do you know what? Better off for it, I think, in the long run, which is hard to say sometimes when you're in the midst of it. But yeah, I am not worried about you at all. You've got this. Take care of yourselves. I will see you again soon. Bye, friends.